All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 107 of Sports Hype. Not that much to get into today, but there was a lot of NFL news, starting with the Vikings and Justin Jefferson agreeing on a 4-year, $140 million deal with $110 million guaranteed. This makes him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history, as well as the highest paid non quarterback in NFL history. So we'll give our thoughts on that and what it means for his fellow receivers that are still waiting for deals, such as CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, etc. Christian McCaffrey also agreed on a new 2-year extension with the 49ers worth $19 million. So we'll give our thoughts on that. Then moving into the NBA, the Kings and Mike Brown agreed on a new 3-year, $30 million contract that ties him to the team through the 2026 through the 27 season. So we'll give our thoughts on that. And then the Lakers have narrowed their search down. They are targeting Dan Hurley, the UConn men's basketball coach for the moment, as their next head coach, and are preparing to offer him a massive long-term contract. What I've heard is it is in the ballpark of 8 years, approximately $100 million. So we'll give our thoughts on that and if that would be the right move for the Lakers. Then the Detroit Pistons fired their GM, Troy Weaver. I think it was the right move. We'll hear Gio's thoughts on that. Then finally, to wrap it up, we'll touch on the Pelicans deferring the 17th pick of this year's draft back to the Lakers. A part of the Anthony Davis trade, they could have took it if they wanted, but with how poor this draft class seems to be, they decided to defer it and let the Lakers keep it. So we'll touch on what the Lakers should do with that pick. But we will start with the massive contract extension that Justin Jefferson got. As I said, $140 million on 4 years with $110 million guaranteed. So what's your thoughts on that, Gio?
Yeah. Well deserved. Obviously, I would say, if he's not the best wide receiver in the game right now, he's the second best wide receiver in the game. For him to get this now really just puts all the weight, I think you mentioned, on Jerry Jones's shoulders to get a deal done with CeeDee Lamb, because his numbers are quite similar to his, especially with last year. Even though Justin missed, I want to say 7 games last year. He missed 7 games, and they still had similar numbers.
I mean, throughout their entire careers, they came in the league the same year. CD has, I believe, more touchdowns and more receiving yards in those 4 years.
But again, I think because Justin has missed significant time in his career so far, I do have CD better, or not CD, but Justin Jefferson better than CeeDee Lamb at the moment. I also think he's a more impactful player than CD, in my opinion, just because obviously we saw how great that offense was when it was just pretty much Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins at the helm, of that offense. With the Cowboys, you had a gauntlet of weapons, in my opinion, that were okay to subpar in accordance to CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, where their success has fallen short again and again in the postseason, to where at least I think the Vikings won 1 or 2 playoff games in the last couple of years. But well-deserved for, Justin. What does this mean for him and the future of that team? I think that he's either there to stick around for the long haul, or they just did that so that he could get his bag, well-deserved bag, and then ship him out to whatever team that he wants to go.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was pretty shocked because, I mean, we've been through this. We thought he was forcing his way out or at least trying to get traded without Kirk there because Kirk was his guy. We thought he was unhappy, but clearly he's pretty happy where he is. At least that's what this contract shows, unless the Vikings were doing the right thing by giving him his bag and then shipping him out, like you said. But I think he's there to stay for at least the next 4 years. And I think that's great for not only the Vikings, but also JJ McCarthy. Gives JJ McCarthy a reliable weapon to throw to and help him develop. So hopefully JJ will be able to get Justin Jefferson the ball as much as Kirk did. And as you said, I believe Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league right now. If not the second best. If he's not, then yeah, he's the second best. But in my opinion, he is the best when healthy. So this is a well-deserved bag. And yeah, this puts the pressure on The 49ers GM, Jerry Jones, all these receivers were waiting for this deal for this particular reason because they knew that their contract would just skyrocket the moment that this contract was signed, and that's exactly what happened. So it's going to be interesting to see the dominoes that fall in the wide receiver market after this deal.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because he's getting paid like a quarterback now. What does this mean for other wide receivers leading up to this year and possibly next year that are going onto the market? So, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch, but at the same time, I'm sure it's a headache for the front office to manage these contracts now, just to be like, okay, what do we got going on? How are we going to build a Super Bowl type team? Because it takes more than a wide receiver, a defensive end, and a quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
Right. And if we're going to go with the Cowboys for CeeDee Lamb, like you said, it's a headache for Jerry Jones. Not only do they have to extend CeeDee Lamb to a much bigger contract now that this contract was signed, they also have to think about extending Micah Parsons after this upcoming year, as well as Dak Prescott. And I don't think you can keep all three. One of them is going to have to go, and we'll see which one Jerry chooses to let go.
Right.
So it's going to be a lot harder for general managers to manage this type of situation in the years to come, especially with how the wide receiver market just continues to skyrocket.
Yeah, for sure.
But moving to another important position in the running backs, obviously the best running back in the game is Christian McCaffrey. He agreed to a 2-year extension worth $19 million with the 49ers, making him the highest paid running back once again. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was, the obvious choice for both parties. I think he wants to stay a 49er for a long time. I also think the 49ers need him in order to be successful, for him to be the most highest paid running back in the game right now. I mean, he is the best running back in the game, so it's just the obvious thing to do. No one else is coming close to him. Maybe Josh Jacobs, but we all saw his contract. For Christian McCaffrey to do this, I mean, it was easy, right? And I have nothing else to say other than the fact that we just got to see him perform this year, and they got to perform in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw this, I was like, that's the obvious thing to do. I mean, he should be the highest paid running back in the NFL. He wasn't at the moment until they made him it once again, which, like I said, was the obvious thing to do. He is the best running back in the game. He deserves everything that has come his way and everything that is going to come his way in the years to come.
Right.
But moving on to the NBA, the Kings and Mike Brown agreed on a new 3-year, $30 million contract that ties him to the team through the 2026 through 27 season. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great coach. We saw exactly what he did as an assistant on, a multitude of teams. We saw what he did as a head coach with the, Sacramento Kings, becoming the head coach. He turned the entire franchise around pretty much, getting DeMontis Sabonis there, keeping Darren Fox happy, getting Malik Monk, getting a squad that can win together, a young squad. I mean, yeah, they didn't play that well this year, but next year's a new year, and I think they're going to, bounce right back. And I think that this was the necessary choice and the necessary move for the Sacramento Kings to have the success that they wanted for the near future.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as we've seen with the other teams who have let go of their coaches, they have to do extensive searches because of the fact that there aren't many coaches out there right now. So I think it was the right move to extend Mike Brown when you can instead of have another team poach him away from you. So I think that was the thinking that the Kings were doing. I was a little surprised at first, not going to lie, because I heard reports at the end of the season that the Kings were assessing Mike Brown and potentially were going to part ways with him. But clearly they decided to keep him, which I think was the right move, like you said. Yes, they had a poor year this year, but a lot of teams that shouldn't have had bad years had bad years. It was just one of those years where the underdogs, per se, had the favorites numbers, and that's what happened this year. But I think the Kings will bounce back. And last year they weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs, and yet they did. And they were a first round exit, but they still put up a great fight against a great Golden State Warriors team. So Mike Brown is the man for the job, in my opinion.
For sure. And I don't think it's the fact that it's the underdogs. I think in the West, you can roll, dice and honestly have any one of 10 teams come out of the West. The Lakers, the Kings, the Pelicans, OKC now, the Grizzlies when John Morant's healthy, the Golden State Warriors if Klay Thompson's playing well and Draymond Green's on the floor. I mean, you have the Mavericks. You have so many teams, right? And some, yes, I haven't even mentioned some of them yet, but they're all coming around. You have the young guns coming with the Spurs and the Rockets. Although they're the worst teams in the West, they're coming for the top teams. They're right there with them. They can beat the Lakers. They can beat the Pelicans. They can beat some of these teams, right? So, I mean, in the West, you can roll dice and have any one of them come out of it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't in their draw this year.
Yeah, I agree. The West is compared to the East. The West is, let's be honest, it's like miles better than the East, and it's just so deep. Like you said, the Rockets, I believe, won 39 games in the East. That would have got them at least a play-in berth,
Right.
not in the West.
No.
So, like, I mean, it's just such a deep conference that you can't afford to slip up too much. And I think the Kings just slipped up a little bit too much this year. That is what led them to the play-in and then a play-in exit, unfortunately.
Right. And if you look at it, the Golden State Warriors won, I think, 6 more games than last year, and they were the 6th seed last year. And yet they were in the play-in this year. So, I mean, just the competitiveness in the West is ridiculous. It's fun to watch as a fan, but unfortunately, it just means that there is that much less room of, to have errors like the Sacramento Kings did this year to lose a couple of games that they should have probably won. And that could have meant, either the 6th seed or even higher than that. So,
right. I mean, and same goes for the Warriors and for the Lakers and all the teams in the play-in.
Right.
It's not just the Kings, and it's not just on Mike Brown either. It goes on the players as well. And then the team wasn't healthy down the stretch. Losing Malik Monk really hurt, and then losing Kevin Huerter really hurt. Those are 2 elite 3-point shooters that they lost, and Malik Monk was in the running for 6th man of the year. So losing him was a huge blow. And if they were healthy, who knows? Maybe they would have been the 7th or 8th seed, and who knows? Maybe they make the playoffs and make a run. You never know.
Exactly.
So I think this was the right move, and I think the Kings are going to bounce back next year.
I agree.
But speaking of coaching, Lakers are targeting back-to-back champion Dan Hurley as their next head coach and preparing a massive long-term contract. Anthony Irwin of LA Times did report it's in the ballpark of 8 years, approximately $100 million. So what's your thoughts on that, Gio?
I think it's ridiculous, honestly. We've seen college coaches be good. We haven't seen them be great. Look at Brad Stevens coming out from Butler. Yeah, he had a couple great seasons with the Boston Celtics, but he ultimately ended up going to a front office position, being probably one of the best GMs in the league. When you look at that standpoint, you say $100 million for 8 years, that's a risky move. You're not going to just give him that money without having success. You're not just going to give JJ Redick the job because he has a podcast with LeBron James. I mean, you're the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's put it this way. You guys lose a season, it's a disappointment. You guys don't come out with a championship. You're rooting for anyone to beat the Celtics because you guys are neck and neck going for that number 18. And as of right now, the Boston Celtics just spanked the Dallas Mavericks in Boston. And it doesn't even look close. Yes, I think Kyrie and, we're going to talk about this later, but yes, Kyrie and Luka could have played better. But Boston Celtics look right, like they're going to grab that, Larry O'Brien. When you think about the Lakers, they're going just like the Celtics are. I can't believe they're getting a college coach to come up into the NBA and expect to give him $100 million when he hasn't even coached a season in the NBA. And it's an entire different animal than, the college level.
I like it, to be honest, as a Lakers fan, because I think he is the best man for the job. There's no NBA coach available right now that has NBA experience that would be good, in my opinion. I don't think JJ Redick would be great. He has great basketball IQ, but we've seen that with Steve Nash, and it did not lead to success for the Nets. I think it is a high risk, high reward to hire JJ Redick, potentially hire JJ Redick. Same thing for Dan Hurley, but I believe the Lakers need two things as a coach. They need a passionate coach. Three things, actually. They need a coach to hold them accountable, and they need a coach that will play physical. Dan Hurley does all three of those things. Yes, I agree. 8 years, approximately $100 million. That's a little outrageous for a first-year head coach who hasn't coached in the NBA. But I believe that they are doing this solely because they think he will stay at UConn if they don't throw him the kitchen sink. And I think they're right to think that. Because if I'm Dan Hurley, I won't leave the UConn after back-to-back championships, top team in the nation coming in. If you don't throw me the kitchen sink, I'm staying at UConn. And I think that is why they're throwing there's rumors of them throwing the kitchen sink at him because that they want to poach him from UConn. And I think that's the only way to do it. But you are right. If it does backfire, it will look terrible for the Los Angeles Lakers.
And once again, the Los Angeles Lakers, this is why I'm not going to say it, but might as well just say it. They're the most hated team.
Oh, 100%.
Because of the rumors, because of the headlines, because of the stuff that they just throw out and spew at you, right? I mean, these headlines are ridiculous. Giving him $100 million, who's getting this information? I mean, Woj got, obviously, the fact that, they were asking for him, looking at him. But for the fact that they're going to give him an 8-year, $100 million deal is utterly ridiculous. Because not only that, that's going to change the game once again. Because Jordan Poole got a $100 million contract with the Golden State Warriors. That changed the game for all other role players wanting the bag like that, right? Look at what Jordan Poole's doing. Look what I'm doing. I'm playing better than Jordan Poole. He's getting a $100 million guaranteed deal. Look at Dan Hurley. He hasn't even coached the entire season. He gets 8 years, $100 million from the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm Steve Kerr. I want another 8 years. If I'm Greg Popovich, I'm asking for that for the next 3 or 4 years, right? If I'm whoever, right? Once this deal happens, it'll change the game forever.
Yeah, it will. I mean, I do get what the Lakers see in Dan Hurley, and I think he will be a great coach, as I said. But is he worth 8 years, $100 million? Is he worth that risk? I'm not sure if he's worth that much of a risk. When I saw that, I'm happy that we're trying to get him because as I said, I believe he's the right man for the job. I think he's going to be a great coach.
Yeah.
It's just if this does backfire, we are putting ourselves in such a financial casualty that we will have no chance to succeed in the next 4 or 5 years if we do have to end up letting him go.
And guess what? The Boston Celtics could win number 20, okay? They could win 22 at that, matter of fact. They could go back-to-back after this year. If Porzingis stays, if Drew Holiday stays, they can go ahead and possibly have a three-peat, possibly. Honestly, they could. If this team sticks together, they're that good, they're that deep, they can do it. Even if they don't, they can win the next, at least maybe 4 in that time span, like you said, that you're going to be in the hole. They can win at least 2 more with the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. So, being that said, isn't that the end goal? To beat the Boston Celtics at their own game?
Yes, it is. But like I said, I believe Dan Hurley is that man for the job to try to do that. I think he can win championships with us. Will it take an adjustment period? Absolutely. I mean, every coach has to adjust. But we've seen college coaches do it before. Yes, they haven't won at the highest level, but I think Dan Hurley has all the intangibles to do so. If you look at these past 2 UConn teams that he coached to national championships, if you look at the rosters, I should say, they are, both of them, the past 2 rosters have been, half of them have been NBA level talent. So he knows what it is like, and what it takes to coach NBA level players. Now, of course, these are going to be NBA players, not NBA level players. So he's going to have to adjust a little bit. He can't make them run stairs like he does at UConn. But like I said, he can hold them accountable, which he will. He can still play physical, which is what the Lakers lack. And he can be passionate, which is another thing the Lakers lacked. Darvin Ham was not a passionate coach. He just stand there with his hands in his pocket, let a team go on a 17-0 run. Danny Hurley, I believe, if the opposing team goes on an 8-0 run, he'll call a timeout. That's what I think. I think he has all the intangibles to do this. He has it in his blood as well. I believe his dad coached in the NBA. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. Yep.
So he has it in his blood he knows what it takes. It's just as I said, I want him over JJ Redick. I think he has all the better intangibles. I don't know if JJ is going to be a great coach. I think he's too risky as of right now. I think Dan Hurley is the better option risk wise. Yes, the both are a high risk, but I think Dan Hurley has a higher reward and a higher chance of succeeding. And I wouldn't mind having Dan Hurley as the coach and potentially JJ Redick as the assistant. I mean, that's a great basketball IQ assistant right there next to Danny Hurley to draw up plays per se for LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I mean, I just think that would be the best option. It's just if we do give him 8 years, 100 million, I just don't know what to think about that aspect of it because that is a lot of money.
I do agree. I think Dan Hurley is your best option. He's back-to-back defending champion, in the NCAA level. Sure, give him a chance. Don't throw that deal out there. I think the Lakers are just throwing that deal out there because of the Los Angeles Lakers. Might as well. Let's make some headlines, right?
Well,
Let's
like I said, I also think they know that I'm not going to say he's leaning towards staying at UConn, but he is 50-50 right now. I think they think in order to make it 75-25 or something like that, they're going to have to give him this big of a deal.
They will, but at the same time, it's just not.
But
in my opinion,
you could also do per se 5 years, 50 million. UConn can't match that either.
Right. Why not? It's just the length. It's the period of time that contract entails that is worrisome. Like you said, if it fails within 1 to 2 years, okay. Well, at least if it's a 5-year deal, you're only going to pay him so much money. If it's an 8-year deal and it fails after 2 years, you're going to have to pay him for the next 6 years.
Right. I do think the Lakers see great things in Danny Hurley, which I do too. He is a great player developer. That's what they want for players like Max Christie, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, etc. You can do that without giving him 8 years, 100 million though. Like that.
Right.
That's the thing. Like you can. I think you can poach him from UConn without giving him this much money. It's not about the money for him. He's came out and said that. It's about the challenge. He wants a challenge. The Lakers are the biggest challenge out there right now, and I think he's already highly considering taking the job without this money. I don't think they need to throw him this much money if they want to get him.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. I do think that, as I said, he is the best option and he will be a great coach in the NBA. It's just a matter of what contract he gets, because if he gets that contract, it's going to be a little bit too risky for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a risk.
But Who knows? We could see high rewards, like I said.
You could. I would honestly get the 3-peat and go, okay? You guys should get an interim coach for the year. Have him get the 3-peat at UConn. Make history once again. I think it hasn't happened since, UCLA days with Wooden, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, I think, yeah, I could see him doing that, but I also think in his mind, he's already the Lakers head coach, because I don't think his wife would have flew out to LA without him if he wasn't highly considering taking this job.
I think she just wants to go to LA. Why would you want to stay in Connecticut when you can be in LA?
Which is another aspect that he will have to think about.
Right.
So I think as of right now, I'm very confident that Dan Hurley will take the job, but we never know. As you said, he is very entailed to UConn. He wants to make history there, but he also is enthralled by the NBA and wants to make history in the NBA. So we'll see what he decides to do in the coming days. Woj had said that if a deal is to be made, it will be in the coming days. So we could see it by the end of this weekend if it does happen.
All right.
But moving on to the Detroit Pistons, they decided to part ways with their GM, Troy Weaver. I'm also hearing that they are assessing everyone on their staff, including head coach Monty Williams. So what's your thoughts on that?
That franchise isn't going anywhere. They've tried. I feel like they had a good shot when they hired Monty. They had a good roster.
didn't they get the 5th pick this year as well?
They got the 5th pick this year as well.
So
I
like,
mean,
they have
what
the
they
worst.
do is just
They have one of the worst records, like year in and year out, and they can never seem to get a top 3 pick. It's just until they get a top 3 pick, or at least, I mean, top 5's not bad, but for the record they have, they should at least be getting the 1st or 2nd pick every year.
for sure, but it's just bad luck on their part. I don't think it's the GM. I don't think it's the coach. Yes, they could win a couple more games, but at the same time, with the roster they have constructed, they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think any GM that comes in can fix the Pistons. I mean, first of all, no one wants to come play for Detroit. They're a terrible team. No disrespect to them. It's just I'm gonna put the facts out there. They're terrible. No free agent is lured to Detroit. It's really that simple. And until they make themselves marketable, they're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
So I don't think firing the GM will do anything. Maybe we'll see what happens, but I just don't think that was the best move, because I think Troy Weaver has done the best job that he could do with the pieces that he had.
Yeah, I
Like, I
agree.
mean, he drafted Cade. Cade has turned into a very good player. And then he drafted Asar Thompson last year. He turned into a very good player. Like, what else do you want from him? I mean, it's Detroit. Like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, they've done, like you said, the best they can. Cade's done his thing. The other guys, injuries in and out, is a big part of it. But I mean, we'll see what happens next year. I don't think a general manager change will change anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I also heard that they're thinking about giving Cade a 5-year, $266 million extension. So, what's your thoughts on that if that happens?
Run away from the money. If I am Cade, I am running away from the bag. I will want to play somewhere else, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously he can't get that contract anywhere else, but I think he's going to take it because he's young and he wants the money. But if I am Cade, I would leave. If you stay in Detroit for that long and you're tied to Detroit for that long, you're just not going to be remembered. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, you're not.
I mean, your career will be a waste of time if you stay in Detroit. So I think Cade should leave, but like I said, I believe he's going to stay in Detroit because he's young and he wants that money.
Right.
But finally, the last talking point is the Pelicans deferred the 17th pick of this year's draft back to the Lakers. So what do you think the Lakers should do with that pick? You think they should keep it and pick a player, or do you think they should package it with certain players to get a certain player?
You're asking me what the Lakers should do with their 17th pick.
Hypothetically, man, if you're a GM, what are you doing with it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, can a 17th pick help change the team? No, I don't think
No,
so.
no. That's why, me personally, if I'm a GM, I'm trying to package it with the other first round picks that we have in 2027 and 2029 with a few players and get a player that can change our trajectory.
And who would that be?
Well, obviously Donovan Mitchell has been rumored. If he leaves Cleveland, that's one option.
Mhm.
I don't think Trae Young will change the trajectory just solely because he's not a great defender. And I think DeJounte Murray could change the trajectory a little bit, but the best option and the one option that I would go after the most if he leaves Cleveland is Donovan Mitchell.
I don't think that would work.
Why you say that?
Look at what the success or some success or whatever you want to call that we had in Cleveland with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, but you
Darius
wouldn't have.
Garland. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Darius Garland, a ball dominant player. Donovan Mitchell,
Yep.
ball dominant player. Right? No success. Couldn't find the chemistry. Yes, we had some issues with our bigs. They didn't play to their standards. Fine, but as you saw, we didn't have any continuity in our backcourt. They were just playing iso ball. Donovan Mitchell needs the ball in his hands. He needs to get up at least 20 shots a game. He is a Bradley Beal type of player. In order to get hot, he needs to shoot.
Yes, but I think LeBron James would be fine with that. He has wanted Anthony Davis to take 20 to 30 shots a game. Anthony Davis just hasn't been able to do that. I think
Right.
Donovan Mitchell would do that, and it would open things up for Anthony Davis and for LeBron James.
Yes, but then again, Anthony Davis needs the ball in his hands. How is he going to get the ball in his hands in order to be productive if Donovan Mitchell has the ball all the time?
You run pick and roll.
Go right
Like,
ahead.
similar to what LeBron James and Anthony Davis did in 2020. Run pick and roll every time down the floor.
Okay, sure, you can do that. I honestly think you can stop that now. As other teams have shown, they have been able to stop the pick and roll. You look at Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, for instance. Evan Mobley barely got the ball until Donovan Mitchell was out of the game. We haven't seen anything from Evan Mobley. I think it could be the same thing with AD and Donovan. I mean, Donovan's just going to want the ball. He's going to think he needs to play the hero because you guys brought him in to be the hero, not just to be a great player that fits well on a team.
True, but if you look at the options we have,
Yes.
him, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. Donovan's the best option there.
Obviously, he's the best player. Do I think I honestly think Trae Young could be better value at a cheaper price.
I agree with that, but the problem that I have with Trae Young, as I said, is his defense. You cannot
Right.
put, if we do keep Austin Reeves, you cannot put Trae Young and Austin Reeves in the same backcourt. It would just be an off-brand D'Lo and Austin Reeves, which we already dealt with.
Right. So how is Donovan any different? It's not like he plays defense.
I think he plays more defense than Trae Young, personally. I think he's a better defender than Trae Young.
Well, because he's 6'3", 6'4", obviously he's better, guard defending. But overall, I think they're quite similar in the fact that he is not going to put his body on the line to win a game.
True.
He's not. LeBron James is 39 years old putting his body on the line. We saw that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think once from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, now that I think about it, he does get beat on defense a lot for how long and how tall he is and big he is.
Right.
But the problem with me and Trae Young is that he doesn't show effort defensively. All I need to see is a little bit of effort. He doesn't show effort, and that's what bothers me.
Yeah, but I also think that he affects the game offensively more than Donovan Mitchell does. I think passing wise, Trae Young, 100%, right? I think
Agreed.
shooting
Yep.
wise, I think they're neck and neck shooting wise, scoring wise.
Yeah, now that I think about it that way, both those options are probably. Yeah, honestly, yeah, you're right. Trae Young is probably the better fit.
I think he's a better fit just because then, I mean, we saw what he did with Clint Capella and John Collins. Imagine if you had Anthony Davis. That's the duo I want to see. It's just for me, Donovan Mitchell is the type of player where, yeah, we saw him with Rudy Gobert, but then again, they ran pick and roll. They didn't win playoff series. I mean, it's just for some reason with Donovan Mitchell, the track record shows that he just either can't get it done in the playoffs or the fit, or he just can't fit right with some teams. Right. I'm not sure that that's going to happen with the Lakers.
Yeah, I could see that. I think if he does go to LA, which I think he will, because based off what I've heard, obviously Los Angeles is putting all their cards on the table for Donovan Mitchell and Donovan Mitchell only. They're not thinking about anyone else. So I think if he does leave Cleveland, which is a big if as of right now, he hasn't made a decision. I think the Lakers are going to go all out for him. So say he's on the team. I think if he is on the team, LeBron James would help him get over that playoff hump, because playoff LeBron, even at 40 years old, is still miles better than most players.
100%. I would say this: Donovan Mitchell as an individual player is a top 10 player in the game.
Right.
I just don't think he's had the team that fits best tailored to his game yet.
And I think, but me personally, I think the Lakers could be that team.
They could, honestly, they could. Since I haven't seen it yet, I just can't believe it with this aspect of it. When you think of Donovan Mitchell with the Jazz, I think this is more like, the more comparable teams is with the Lakers and the Jazz. But at the same time, I think defensively, you guys are still going to struggle.
That's fair, unless obviously we get, as we should and need to, some 3-and-D wings in the free agency.
Right. I think you can get Paul George. You should, right?
I mean, yeah, but he's linked to Philly right now, based off what I'm hearing.
Yeah, he is.
But I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Paul George, but I just think I think if Mitchell does come to LA, I don't think he's going to be a bad fit. I think he's going to be a great fit. I think he'll be okay with playing off ball personally, and I think he'll be a great. As we know, LeBron needs shooters around him. He'll be a great spot up shooter for LeBron when he passes him the ball.
Yeah, but I also think that's a waste of his potential. I mean, you just said Donovan Mitchell as a spot up shooter, dude. I mean, he's not in his 30s. He's in his mid 20s. He's in his prime.
I mean, true, but it's also like maybe being a spot up shooter is what he needs to do to get over the hump. Sometimes you got to change your game if you want to win at the highest level.
You do have to change your game. But at the same time, I don't know. I think that's caging. That is caging a lion. That's telling him he can't roam, the Sahara Desert or whatever, wherever, right?
Well, I'm not saying he'll be a spot up shooter all the time. It's just when LeBron has a ball in his hands, he'll have to be a spot up shooter. But when LeBron's on the bench, he can do his thing. When Anthony Davis is on the bench, he can do his thing, etc. But when LeBron wants to take over, which is very rare that happens at his age anymore, then he'll have to become a spot up shooter. But majority of the time, I think he will have the ball in his hands if he does come to LA.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Best of luck to him. I mean, all I want is Donovan Mitchell to be successful and get that championship. I think he's, like I said, a top 10 player. I think he's D-Wade 2.0. It just sucks that he hasn't had the playoff success that we all hoped he would.
Yeah, definitely. I think if he is changing teams, I know the Lakers have had struggles the past 2 years, but I think his best chance team-wise that I've heard is Miami, one, of course, and then the Lakers at number 2.
Yeah, and if you get rid of Miami, you're getting rid of Jimmy Butler, in my opinion.
You think so?
I don't think you'll have Donovan Mitchell and Jimmy Butler on the same team.
Because they're the same position or just two ball dominant?
Both two ball dominant, and I think there's going to be a 3-team trade between the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Miami Heat.
So I'm assuming Jimmy to the Sixers.
That's right.
Who goes to Cleveland for D. Mitch?
Tyler Hero.
So you think that Donovan Mitchell is basically going to carry with Bam Adebayo?
I don't think this is the right choice. I think if he goes to Miami, this is what could possibly happen.
If that does happen, then we're just going to see the Jazz 2.0, in my opinion, because we've seen Donovan Mitchell can't win with a great big, and Bam Adebayo is a great big.
100%, but I'm not saying this is what I hope happens. I've heard some rumors. I've seen some things. It looks logical. Like, okay, this all makes sense. Okay, Tyler Hero goes to the Cavs. Someone else goes to the Cavs with a pick. Okay, a pick goes to the 76ers with, Jimmy. He gets signed to an extension. Okay, Donovan Mitchell's down in Miami. who else do they have? I mean, yeah, they don't have anybody else other than him and Bam, but it's logical and it's fair.
Yeah, I agree. I also think, yeah, I mean that the Cavs are going to have a lot to weigh. It's going to depend. The Lakers and the Heat are going to give them great offers. It's just going to
Yeah.
be a matter of who gives them the better offer.
And I would take anything at this point because, or not anything, but I would take whatever those two teams would have to offer because they have a lot of assets. And two, we don't need that much to be successful. Before Donovan Mitchell was there, we had success. All we need now is that extra 2-3 pieces. Boom, we got our depth. We got our stars in Darius Garland, Evan Mobley going ahead. We saw Evan Mobley, score 35 in his last game against Boston. I mean, we have it all. We just need to put it together. That's it.
Right. I think if you're speaking of depth, the Lakers offer, that rumored offer, I should say, that has been floating around would give you more depth than the Heat offer.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Donovan Mitchell. But say the Lakers do decide to keep the 17th pick and they hire Dan Hurley.
Right.
I think Dan Hurley will have a say in who they pick.
100%.
Who do you think is the best option there for the Lakers if they keep the pick?
I don't know. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not too familiar with this draft class other than
I know there's a lot of overseas players. I know that.
Yeah. I know the kid from
I-
UConn, the center, he's going.
he's going lottery.
Yeah. Bronny, obviously. But other than that,
Bronny,
I'm not too sure.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I
UConn
was
guard
thinking,
is still there. I would say UConn guard.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like if a UConn guard is still there, like Stephon Castle or Ron
Right.
Holland, I know he's working out with the Lakers this upcoming week. Obviously, Bronny we're going to work out with us, but we're looking more into him in the second round per se,
Right.
not the first round.
Mhm.
So I think Dan Hurley's going to have a say if he gets the job, and I think that's another reason why the Lakers should hire Dan Hurley, because he knows college basketball so well. He will be able to narrow down who they should pick if they do and keep the pick.
Right.
But yeah, that's why I think the Lakers, in my opinion, should trade the pick for a win now player, because this year's draft is so weak. It's not a knock on the players coming in. It's just the upcoming drafts will be so much stronger than this year's draft that I think this pick is the pick to trade.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. I mean, rumors are that they're leaning towards trying to make a trade with it. So we'll see what they're able to do with it, and it's gonna be interesting to see.
For sure.
Anything else you want to add or talk about before we wrap up?
Not that I can think of.
All right, man. What's going on in the sneaker world?
Yeah, we have some Oreo 6s dropping, which is pretty dope. Coming out the 8th. A very clean sneaker, just like the Oreo 5, just like any other Oreo colorway. I do like the silhouette of the 6. Not too many like it, but obviously it's an iconic sneaker. It's an iconic Jordan, silhouette. And to have it in that clean Oreo crisp colorway where it's a white sneaker with, black speckle on it, it's just a beautiful sneaker. So good luck getting those. I believe that's tomorrow. So good luck trying to get those on the sneakers app.
Yes, sir. Also, the Kobe Girl Dads did drop today as well. Obviously, the launch did end, but if you do want to still buy them, you can always go to StockX. That's a great website as well.
Right.
But unfortunately, I do have some sad news as a Cowboys fan. Cowboys legend Larry Allen did pass away this past week on vacation with his family, as he was only 52 years old. So I just want to say rest in peace to him. He was a great guy, great career. Always had a smile on his face, always happy. I never met him, but based off what I've heard and what I've seen, he was always enthusiastic and a joy to be around. So just want to say rest in peace to him and prayers up to his families, friends, and loved ones.
Yeah, for sure.
But thank y'all for watching. See y'all in the next one.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Go down to the comment section. I'm sure Nick is down there. Go ask for him. Go look for him. Say hi to him. I'm sure he's there. If you guys like the podcast, please give us that thumbs up. And like Two Wise Men once said, subscribe. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Peace.